The wait is over, ladies and gentlemen. We are done with WCS Winter's European segment, and we are moving into the Americas segment. My name is Fear Dragon. I am joined by the American Nathanius. What's up?
What's up?
Cool. So, for those who don't know, again, Europe is now done. We know all the players that have made it to the playoffs. We know their standings and everything. Raynor's an absolute god, we figured out.
Yep.
Although Hero Marine also looking really strong. But now we go into Americas. And for those who missed out, yesterday we did play out 3 of the Americas round-robin matches. We already have some of the standings figured out.
Yep.
We kind of have some idea of where people are starting to shift into. I know Scarlet doing very well, Neeb doing very well, and Time doing very well. And I think we had a couple of players. I think it was Probe and Astrea struggling a little bit. So let's go ahead and take a look right now, see where all those guys are sitting so you guys can see. Scarlet, Time, and Neeb. Well, Neeb losing one match was 2-1. Time and Scarlet going 3-0. And then Astrea and Probe, who I want to note are both going to be playing each other in this next match, this first match on this stream, are both sitting 0-3. So one of these guys finally going to get the first win.
Dire straits for them. By the way, big shout out to Time, who dunked on Neeb yesterday, and he's playing in America. He wanted to play with minimal latency, get that prize money, and I love seeing it because usually we don't get to see the full potential of players playing from outside, especially if you don't live in North America. There's no America's matchmaking server in China yet, so
not quite. But we're still going to incorporate them into Americas.
Yeah, very welcome.
So let's take a look at all the matches we're going to be covering for the America segment. Now, again, because we only played 3 matches yesterday, we're playing 4 more today. The first match will be Probe versus Astrea. Following that up, we're going to be going into Cham versus Masa for a little TVZ action.
Fear Dragon, why do these games look so good? What did we do to deserve this?
That third match, Nate.
All
Scarlet
these games
versus Neeb.
All these games look good. Cham Masa should be delightful as well.
I am really looking forward to what memery Masa has prepared for Cham, that Cham is just going to completely ignore and still just go for the same build.
And one more time. Oh,
and of course, that last match, by the way, guys.
We'll figure it out.
We're going to figure it out. Depending on what the standings are, we're going to find the most important, exciting match and grab that one for you guys. So be patient. We'll all find out in due time. But for now, PvP, Probe versus Astrea. Nate, your thoughts?
Well, Astrea does weird stuff, and Probe plays pretty normally. I don't see this as if I was gonna try and do an in control impersonation, I would say that Astrea will do something really weird, and Probe will probably try to just kill him with a timing attack. And if Probe plays well, this should be very easy 2-0 for him. But as a fellow memer in heart, I want to see Astrea do something ridiculous and get away with it and take us into a dark, deep rabbit hole, the likes of which no man has ever escaped. Almost equivalent to an event horizon. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So the thing about Astrea's play, like Nate was saying, he is a bit of a memer, and he has these handcrafted weird builds that he has prepared.
Fully organic.
Which, exactly, he has come up with these totally on his own, and they're extremely weird. A lot of them are quite greedy, but specifically, PvP. This is Astrea's best matchup. Astrea is quite literally a PvP sniper. If I had to describe Astrea, it would be he is a PvP sniper. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he's got crafted for us in this particular match, as he's going to be facing off against this guy down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the map. He is the Red Protoss from Australia and Team Legacy. It's Probe.
He faces off against our blue Protoss player in the Northwest. He is Astrea. You see what I did there? It's an America's reference.
Perfect. So, for those who don't know, Astrea also goes by the name Max Angel, possibly the coolest name of any real name.
If he jumps, StarCraft. I heard if he ever jumps or dives, like real life, just it goes into bullet time for him. You know, even if for any.
And he always lands in a roll, no matter.
Yeah, and he always lands in a roll. Like he slipped on like a broom in his kitchen, and everything went slow-mo, and he just somersaulted in midair and like landed in a hero stance.
One time he was reading a book, and you know you're walking and you're not really looking at where you're going, and he did one of those things where there were some steps down, so he kind of stepped a little bit too far over, landed in a roll. Every time.
Amazing.
So one thing I do want to note about Astrea's PvP is he likes to do some kind of funky stuff, especially like, for example, not walling off in PvP. Really, really unusual, because usually you want to be able to deal with the double adept openings. If they charge across the map, you don't have really a good way of walling off. The other thing about Astrea is that not necessarily every PvP, but a lot of his PvPs, he actually likes to open up double sentry and then sentry stalker, which is 3 sentries very early on and gives him really good scouting information. He's not going to go for this game, though, and I only bring that up just because that is something that Probe is going to be aware of, because he is the kind of player who has played versus Astrea before.
Yeah, so it's those stalkers coming out, and I've seen Roddy, I think, do a little bit of a breakdown on this, because we have 2 adepts being made for Probe, and the logic that Roddy kind of brought up on his stream was that if you don't respect the adept play, it sends a weird signal to your opponent, because your opponent then would think to themselves, well, if he never preps for adepts, then surely it's because he's good at dealing with them when he does this, because wouldn't he just stop doing it if he lost every game to adepts? And that's the weird world we live in, because it's going to be 4 adepts. So these 2 are going. There's going to be 2 more. Recalls out, and look at that, just this map awareness, catching these adepts before they can even get close to his base. And
that's
so
really nice.
It's so weird that he's like done this extremely what should be like aggressive opener that can punish the lack of a wall off, but it don't matter.
So it's not entirely over just yet, because you can still move in with the 4 adepts and join forces with the Oracle. But look at this, the Stalker's already on this side of the map here for Astrea. Are they actually going to poke forward? Now, Probe has his own probe at the top of the wall, so he can actually complete the wall if the Stalkers decide to get aggressive. And it looks like the adepts are going to shade backwards. Now, this is really important, because I want you guys to note the Oracle about to finish up. The Oracle's going to get across the map a lot faster than those adepts can. So normally you'd want to like join forces, the adepts move in at the same time as the Oracle, you get a bunch of worker kills. Probe is not going to have that option anymore, because he had to pull his adepts all the way back thanks to the Stalkers of Astrea.
I feel like Astrea's build is already working.
Yeah.
I feel like he's already gotten inside Probe's head. We've got like these batteries that have gone up. The Oracle is going to get over here, but they're Stalkers, which Oracles are armored units now, so they take bonus damage from the Stalkers. So he gets this tag, and he's like, oh my god, I feel like I'm...
He just canceled the Robo. So Astrea gets tagged with the Oracle, and his Robo also got tagged. So Astrea cancels the Robo in front of Probe.
Doesn't the vision of the Probe still one of them?
He can see the Twilight Council.
Okay.
Hallucinate Phoenix, because Astrea got up to 3 Phoenix, is going to have a lot of easy scouting information. He should see that that Stargate was still producing more units, which should also reveal that, yeah, okay, there's a Robo and stuff coming out, but it's still sitting idle right now. He's still got to be respectful of those Oracles and keep those Stalkers in the middle line.
Hey, Fear Dragon, what do you call a bunch of Oracles?
Oracles?
Moracles.
Moracles. Would it be like a flock or a fleet, or?
No.
No?
An asteroid belt of Oracles.
An asteroid
perhaps.
belt of Oracles battering down on their opponents like comets.
Yep. And the only thing that can destroy them when they're in just a big cluster like that is a nuke right at the center.
But who will we find to plant that nuke?
One brave man.
One brave, maybe a team of brave souls.
All right, so it looks like the 3 Oracles have kind of converged up top. Are the Adepts just going to YOLO in on this and just try to pulsar beam everything? Because I think that sounds like a terrible idea, but let's find out.
Well, I mean, this is a pretty scary looking army, and you're going to see that those Adepts are going to get it right in on top of the sentries. We're already seeing the Guardian Shield getting picked off there by the Oracles and the Adepts, and we're starting to see that these Stalkers for Astrea are winning out versus the Stalkers of Probe, but those Adepts still going ham, and they're starting to kill off a couple of these workers. Still haven't gotten too many, only literally getting 2 so far. So good defense here from Astrea. And now, as long as he keeps these probes alive, he's losing a little bit of mining time, but this is still really nice.
Yeah, this was a really weird type of attack to go for, and I mean, for me, it was another reminder of how good Stalkers are versus Oracles. But the Adepts being able to bounce back into the main base, making use of their greatest asset, right? It's that mobility, it's that harass potential, and the damage to do against the workers. Astrea ends up net positive on probes still, but not by any significant margin.
Yeah, that's one of those really weird PvP engagements too, where even if you've played a decent amount of PvP, you look at that and you're like, I think the Adept player might still be able to make this work. And is it better to, in that situation, focus when you have just the Adepts left over? Should you just have been focus firing down probes instead of trying to take the fight? There's a lot of questions that go through your mind, and you really don't get a lot of time to actually try and figure that out or calculate it in your head. You just got to commit to a decision and go for it. Probe commits to one, doesn't go so well.
Yeah. So, did he ever... He's got the third Nexus coming in now. Okay. And he's got no moral. I was going to say, I'm like, did we really get robo production going for Astrea? But yes, we have. That blink is nice, but I feel like a common theme in PvP that does come up is the balance of Stalkers in terms of when do you stop building them? How many is too many? At what point does the Stalker count interfere with your transition to the degree that you die to the Charge Lot Archon Immortal Death Ball, as it were, that most players roll with?
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I do want to note that Astrea is starting to add on charge now. So Probe is doing his best to just try and hang in there. He's built more shield batteries. He's staying extremely defensive. But the funny thing is, Astrea isn't actually making a ton more units right now. He's adding on his gateways, he's getting up his Temple Archives and going into that charge thing, and he has a third base finished up. So he is just scaring Probe, and Probe, by building so many shield batteries, it's also taken away his ability to warp in. All those shield batteries could have been more Zealots and could have been a really strong two-base attack that he's just not going to have anymore.
Nope. Prism is out here for Probe, but moving across the map in this situation, I think is still really dangerous. There's some spotter units. I think that's an observer for Astrea, so he's kind of got an idea of what's going down. And he's got a unit at the third, too.
Yeah, he was just waiting for Probe to move a little too far out. So Astrea manages to snipe off some of the scouting information there for Probe, who, by the way, you take a look at this Phoenix or I guess the vision for Probe. He hasn't actually spotted out the third base just yet, so that Hallucinate Phoenix finally moves in. He sees that the third base is already starting to get saturated and has been up for a bit. At the same time, the Warp Prism for Astrea warps in a ton of these Zealots, traps in the Stalkers.
Wow, that force field Zealot warping around the Stalkers was gnarly.
Really, really well done. And the Warp Prism is going to be able to get out of there alive because he just took care of most of the anti-air right there. Stalkers all getting sniped off.
Astrea did a meme build, and he's stunting on Probe here.
Depowers two of the gateways and the robo, so Mortal Production's gonna halt for a bit. Stargate also getting depowered. This is a really tough spot for Probe because this is this place where you say, okay, well, it's 2-base versus 3-base. I'm just gonna get out macroed, but I'm having trouble moving out because of the Warp Prism. And even if I do move out, I have less army supply at this point.
Yeah, this is, I don't know what to say. Like, the economic advantage here for Astrea is huge. Someone might be like, but Nathan, it's only 6 probes. Yes, but the spread on the third base, the access to those minerals, the workers are mining more efficiently. Life is good.
Okay, Probe is making his move across the map. He needs to hope and pray he can find Astrea sort of out of position, get into the natural expansion, kind of poke forward when he's not quite there, maybe get some Probe snipes and then recall out. Something like that is what I could see Probe maybe pulling to come back with, but it's a really hard ask. Astrea is already in position at that natural. He knows that the army's already over here because of his Zealot. And, well, the Warp Prism does load up, go into the main base. Astrea does seem to have units prepared there, though.
Yeah, and the thing is, Astrea as the defender in this situation, he's under no pressure to do anything. He can move these Stalkers up, snipe a unit, blink back, rolls his Oyster. He's going to lose a few of them, and actually, wow, these Zealots. Probe, pull them back. They just kind of waltz into their death.
I mean, yeah, that's
GG.
Astrea takes the first game, living up to his name as the PvP Sniper. Of course, I do think that Astrea, he walked in this game or this series, even ignoring the matchup a bit. I do think that Astrea was a little bit favored here. Probe is a good player, but I know a lot of other people, a lot of the other players in this group were just they just ranked Astrea just a bit higher than Probe. So it's a tough ask for Probe to try and take this one, and that first game really did look pretty rough.
Yeah, Astrea seems to have a very good grip on this matchup. He made Probe look silly. I have a pretty high level of respect for Probe as far as like America's region players go, but I'm surprised that Astrea manhandled him like that.
I mean, we do have to bring it back to like the big attack that Probe committed to. That's where everything just suddenly went very, very wrong, because Probe wasn't doing so poorly until that attack just went really, really poorly. So it's kind of a weird thing. Like you commit to that, you're kind of hoping to get a lot more. The Guardian Shield from the sentries, I'm sure, helped out a little bit, being able to last there for a bit. But let's go ahead and take a look really quickly, guys, at the other matches and how things are going on. We do see that it is 1-0 in favor of Time right now, and actually Maso himself was telling me that he thinks Time is a bit of a TBT sniper, so Time doing pretty well in that TBT. We have a 1-0 lead for Scarlet right there versus Puck. No surprises there, but Cham being able to take the first game off of Neeb. Already really, really well done by Cham, and I think that might be a little bit more of a surprise for people.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? You know, like I mentioned this yesterday. It's the NA factor.
NA player.
NA player can beat NA other NA player.
Absolutely. It is so true. We'll see how this game number 2 goes as we load on up to year 0, though. Love to see what Probe is going to try and mix it up with this game as we load in, introduce the players.
What's he going to bring out? What's he going to bring out? Because this guy in the top right was riding the struggle bus in game numero 1. Let's see what he can do in our second one. In the top right, he is Probe.
And in the top left-hand corner of the map, we got the blue Protoss player, who goes by the name Max Angel. He is Astrea. Team Alpha X,
Max Angel.
For those who don't know, Astrea actually had a really sick performance at Cheesadelphia back in December. Now, he didn't end up beating him, but he took Special to a game 4 in a best of 3. That's because he had such a close series. He won one of the first games, he lost the second game, and then they drawed on the third game in like a crazy 30 or 40 minute base trade. And then he narrowly ended up losing the 4th game, but he really did actually do quite well for himself. He got to like the semifinals, I think the quarterfinals there. He's been coming up in the scene for the past 4 or 5 months, and a lot of eyes for people who have been closely following the North American scene are on him. But it's still something that's a bit unproven, because he does have a bit of a weird playstyle, and sometimes that does backfire on him.
Yeah.
Especially as we can see, we do have the low ground gateway over there as our wonderful observer Awesome shows.
His family destroyed by a Nidus worm. His base, his home, obliterated by widow mines. Now one man has the dream to become the WCS champion, Max Angel.
I would watch that movie. I would watch that documentary.
It's an action movie with a lot of explosions. But thankfully, when Protoss is involved, that's typically par for the course.
I'm on board. That's much better than what I think was being watched in the green room earlier. I think In Control suggested to our wonderful makeup artist, Esports Makeup, also known by Rosa, to watch the Ted Bundy documentary.
Goodness.
Do not recommend.
No, not great green room material. Sadly, we don't have a VHS player for this copy of Armageddon I brought.
Oh. Okay, we do have not just a Stargate going up for Astrea, but a Robo as well. Very quickly, he goes into a fast Void Ray.
What?
Let me just tell you, this is not typical PvP, but not just that. This is really different PvP. So this is the Astrea shenanigans. I wonder if this Void Ray is him being a bit concerned about a big attack from Pro, but funny enough, it's just double Adept again. It's not a bunch of Stalkers making their way across the map. And Astrea, I think he already had a full wall off to prevent the Adepts from making their way through.
Yeah. Is he doing... Well, he got Warp Gate, so it's not Roddy Mac.
Yeah. So, here's the kind of funny thing, is with this wall in, Probe is going to have, until he gets out the hallucinated phoenixes, he's not really going to know whether or not Astrea expanded. So I think this just leads into like a Void Ray Immortal one base all in? Question mark? No, he is going to take an expansion.
No. Okay. My head hurts, Fear Dragon.
That is the goal for Astrea.
And he didn't even move the Void Ray out. It's just chilling at home.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to reveal his hand yet.
I guess one Void Ray harass isn't really a thing. Does he wait for 3 Void Rays? I don't get it. Hey man, people complain about lack of Protoss expertise here. Don't worry guys, we got builds that are so weird even Protoss experts don't know what's going on.
I mean, to quote Astrea, the way that he said, for example, he wanted to approach the Neeb matchup was he felt like it was going to be tough. And I actually forgot if they already played. I think that they did. But the way he said was, Neeb is probably better than me, but I have builds that are so stupid he's never going to know what hit him.
That's not a bad strategy to take.
Yeah.
So the reason why, and this is always one of my favorite things to point out about America's players, but Ruff, back in the day, whenever he'd be put on team leagues just to do builds like this. Like if they don't make any sense, Ruff had like a really good win rate against Koreans in like the online team leagues, because the good Korean players were just like, I've literally never seen a build like this before. Every time they played him.
Oh boy. So here's the thing. That one Void Ray is now on cooldown with Prismatic Alignment. There's 2 more Stalkers that also get warped in, but I think there's no more Void Rays coming. It's just about the Immortal getting the damage done. I think part of the logic here for Astrea is that if the Immortals and the Void Rays can just kill off all the Stalkers fast enough, just keep at least one Void Ray alive, there's basically not going to be much anti-air anymore.
Nope.
So here we go. He's going to move forward.
There are 3 full shield batteries, though.
There are. I think that the damage output would be high enough if you can get on like focus fire down with the Immortal and also the Void Ray on a Stalker.
I agree, but he would lose the Void Ray if he committed to that, and that's I think the biggest issue.
Exactly. So he's gonna try and move around from a different angle, but Probe is on top of it. Warps in some more Stalkers. Now, Robotics Bay is on the way for Astrea behind all of this. He's also adding on an Oracle. Oracle is kind of interesting because I guess he already has an Oracle, so if he just wanted Revelations, that would be fine. And the other weird thing is he's just forcing a lot of Stalkers. So this is like, he's forcing a lot of Stalkers and then making Oracles, which are going to have a hard time versus a heavy Stalker composition.
Yeah. The follow-up, Disruptors.
I mean, I do kind of like the Disruptors. Just assuming that he can obviously like get good disruptor hits, right? That can obviously backfire.
Yeah, you do want to connect on the hits.
But it makes it kind of weird, right? Because if the Stalkers want to blink forward onto, say, the Immortals or the Void Rays, well, I guess there's only one Void Ray, and it's probably going to be I wonder if he's going to make any more Immortals. The idea there is that, like, a lot of the time the Blink Stalkers will just try and blink and focus fire down some of those high-value units. And the Disruptors make that a bit awkward, because then you can't escape anymore.
Yeah.
But 7 workers killed is definitely not too shabby with that the Oracle damage.
Yeah, that's really nice. And he still has like that Void Ray sharking around, but the aggressive Warp Gate placed outside of that natural area. Let's see what he can do. He's got Blink and +2 attack almost ready.
The full wall in there for Astrea is going to make things also a little bit difficult, because if Probe does decide to commit across the map, we're going to see, Astrea is
I was going to say the full wall actually hurts the defender more here, because those disco balls need to go through to get to where the Stalkers are going to be.
Yep. So we're going to see, and also the Robo is a part of the wall. Remember that, because when Probe goes in for the big attack, if he manages to break through even a little bit, suddenly Astrea is possibly going to just immediately lose his Robo and a lot of that Disruptor or Mortal production.
This is really awkward.
So Astrea, he does catch wind of this nice and early on. He sees that Blink is there as well, and he's just, that's going to give him the time he needs to actually back up a bit.
Yep, that's scary, because those Blink Stalkers are going to be really hard to deal with position-wise.
Photon Cannon denies the Oracle harassment. The Gas Geyser's not really being mined from over there for Probe. So he's committed to this. +2 weapons finished up here for Probe, and the army is just so much scarier for Probe if these Disruptor balls do not land some juicy, juicy connections. That's what it's coming down to. 0 out of 3 and 2 out of 3 guys on gas there, and the natural for Probe. So again, he really just doesn't have a lot of gas to try and transition out with if he doesn't resaturate those.
It's old school Latva PvP Fear Dragon. Some Disruptor, Stalker versus Stalker, but no Disruptors on the part of Probe. Of course, the Disruptor is pretty easy to maneuver away from in this situation.
Yeah, it becomes a bit of a tricky situation, right? Because you can disengage and then you have to wait for blink.
Yep, and there's also no blink for Astrea too.
Yeah, and I think this does become complicated though, because gradually Astrea is going to just build up the Disruptor count, and if Astrea ever decides to get aggressive and he has a ridiculous number of Disruptors and there's just no answer for Probe, well then eventually you're on the defensive. You don't actually have any other space to retreat back to if you're already in your main or your natural.
And you get stuck.
Yeah. Well, Stasis Trap tries to go down, but he ends up losing the life of the Oracle there. So a nice pick off there for Probe. And Probe just taking the third base and saying, well, I got a contain going, so let's just try and catch up a bit on economy or overtake my opponent. Got good upgrades. Can move into Charge Light Archon off of this.
Yep, tries to catch these Stalkers out in the middle, but the blink is good. It is difficult to land those Disruptor shots, but really only takes one, and then it just snowballs out of control. The Stalker count in itself, though, is just looking really good for Astrea, too.
Yeah, he's bleeding off a few Stalkers here and there, so every single time the Disruptors have to be shot out. I think that Astrea's lost like 2 or 3 Stalkers every time Probe pokes on in. He's doing a good job with the micro, not losing any of those. And Astrea may have just caught wind of that proxy gate, which is really nice because, you know, 2 Adepts warped in the midst of one of these fights could be a big deal.
Yep, and blink is finally done for Astrea. Worth noting that the head-to-head, I mean, Probe's Stalkers have +2 attack, so they're going to be doling out a good deal more damage. Very important to keep in mind. +3 is actually almost done for Probe. So he's going to have some very powerful boys behind that army.
Remember, still no third base there for Astrea. Disruptor shot going off once again. And I have to say, at least Astrea is keeping all the Disruptors well and alive. I don't think he's lost any of them. Warp Prism trying to get something done in the main base, but not really finding an opportunity. And, ooh, Probe is setting up for a sick flank. The Zealot's going to be able to come in from behind. The Disruptor is going to have some trouble with that. The Stalkers immediately reposition. The big blink forward there for Probe.
Disruptor hit on the Stalkers. Absolutely blew him to pieces, and that's going to open up room for him to blink up north. Could have saved the Disruptors with the Warp Prism. Not going to do so, but it may not matter. Oh my God, that was those were a couple of disgusting Disruptor shots. Losing every Disruptor there certainly hurts, and then we get to see Charged Zealots, very good against, well, everything.
Yeah, I mean, remember, it's +3 weapons for Probe versus Astrea's 0-0, and now Astrea is only now taking a third base. That, like, the Disruptor hit was good, but Astrea needed more than that, and he lost all the Disruptors, only killing off like 5 or 6 Stalkers with that.
Yeah,
oh, this Disruptor. Okay, no, I thought he was going to go for the Zealots and the Sentries.
You know what? Getting the shields off of both of those Archons pretty good,
nice.
Though. Unfortunately, oh my God, I'm +3 attack Sentries.
Oh my God.
What year is it?
Yeah, the Sentry DPS is actually surprisingly high right there, but the Warp Prism is so low on hit points that
just
Warp
tap it in. There you go. Goodbye.
Gets denied. And now Astrea is doing his best with some good Blink Stalker micro. He's going to be able to get up to the high ground where there wasn't quite vision, so Probe has to back off. But, well, I mean, Astrea, I guess he could technically just try and buy time until he gets up at least +2 weapons in his third base and just poke away with these Stalkers. But this is a very dangerous game for him right now.
The Blink micro is definitely giving him what he needs. And if he can keep chipping away, that's like the big goal. Really good Blink micros so far. Just needs to be careful as those power units get added for Probe.
Yeah, I'd love to see him. I know he's, of course, busy microing right now. I'd love to see him add on some shield batteries at the third base. I think that'd help out a lot. Because remember, he is down in army supply, but he has a better economy for a bit. And he also has better upgrades. So this isn't over for Probe, but he, okay.
GG.
As I say that, it looks like he feels like it is.
Looks like you were wrong. No, it's okay. Sometimes it's hard to tell.
Is there one of those moments where I'm really happy it's you here, not Jeff? No.
Is it though,
Remy? Yeah. No, it was a tough spot for sure because Astrea was leading up so much army supply. I really think that if because he had like 600 minerals floating. You imagine he threw down like 3-4 shield batteries before all of that. Those
Yeah.
stalkers are in those Archons and stuff aren't getting picked off.
Batteries would have helped, but the disruptor shot, even on just
Yeah.
like those 2 Archons at the end, it's like you're trying to reinforce, and those units are pretty much gone instantly. And then the sandwich fight, the disruptors are like, well, the stalkers blinked in, so I get to kill all of them. Like,
Yeah.
okay, and that was it. Like, I don't know, really well done. Such odd games out of Astrea. He plays really weird. That's exactly the type of builds I want to be using, so I will be copying these.
You're going to open up Stargate Robo, build 2 Void Rays, and go across the
I
map.
want to do Roddy Mech, so like I don't even get the Warp Gate, so I've kind of seen that almost.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm like, this was also just so out of, wow,
Yep.
weird series, but a fun one at that.